Hey guys, welcome to the Markcast. Reed here. Here you go. Finally, people have been clamoring. We love the live shows, but we want to get some interviews, some pre-recorded episodes. Got you covered today. A couple great interviews coming up. A head coach for the UFL, and then we're talking with one of the standout players for the UFL for the Showboats as well. Plus, lots of news and notes to get to today. Thank you for checking out the episode back here. Going to try to do these, regularly on Fridays now, but obviously when news breaks, I like doing the live shows. I like having the live streams, get a lot of good listener, viewer feedback with that. But here we are today, got some stuff in the bag. Like and subscribe for the 2 free tickets for the UFL championship game here just announced today in St. Louis. Should be exciting. I have a big time guest just going back and forth with the league literally right now. Had to pause recording. Big time guest interview coming out next week. And then I already have another interview scheduled for Sunday, returning guest with the UFL, another coach. So you'll be excited. Should be good. So like and subscribe. We'll get 2 tickets to the championship game when we hit 3,500 subscribers. Setting up the show today, Houston Roughnecks head coach Curtis Johnson, delightful man. Had a great chat with him. Hope you guys enjoy that. Shout out to Brittany over at the Roughnecks for setting that up. I know lots busy with all the team reps and everything. Been a little bit of a struggle bus kind of getting stuff locked down. So really appreciate Brittany coming through with that. And then Andy with the Showboats. Andy was with the Guardians last year. And now he's with the Showboats setting up Darius Victor. Just the sweetest human being in the world. Really appreciate that. It's always these guys that are like on the tear on the football field and they're just total sweethearts. So really appreciate the Roughnecks team and the Showboats. And then Pat Rifino coming on today, breaking down all the UFL championship game information here coming out middle of June for the title game. Whether we get Pat's thoughts on that. And then Pat and I, we're going to do an all UFL Markcast kind of preseason team breakdown. So, you like all those, like the all, all pro, we did the all USFL last year and then the all XFL. So it's the all Markcast UFL preseason roster, but basically just getting Pat's thoughts on roster cuts and kind of training camp here week 3 and kind of other news and notes this week. So we'll kind of do a round out with Pat. So Curtis Johnson talking with Darius Victor, Pat Rifino on here. Like I said, like and subscribe. We'll see you guys at the end. Appreciate it. Hope you guys like the interviews. Thanks. Well, here we are, head coach now of the Houston Roughnecks. We'll talk about that. Here we have Curtis Johnson. Sir, how are you doing?
Doing great.
It's good. So we're kind of here, week 3 of training camp. How's everything for you? How has everything been so far?
So far, so good. The injuries are starting, the soft tissue injuries, starting to pile up a little bit. I got to back off a little bit. Today we practiced Arlington for the second time. I thought it was a good practice. It was good work. Man, the quarterbacks played pretty good. Defense was very good. I like our secondary, what they're doing. A couple of our D linemen were out. Reuben Foster didn't do much work, but I think we're going to be a good competitive team this year.
Do you like the scrimmages? I know it's so and we'll talk. The USFL team here now is the XFL. Kind of all that stuff. But do you like having being able to scrimmage against the other teams?
Absolutely. I think it gives you good work. It shows you what they're lacking and what you're lacking. You get an opportunity to see other players. And, man, you get tired of going against your same guys day in and day out. I thought it was good, active, and good, exciting work.
In terms of kind of this whole now merged, kind of experience, everything, what was your reaction to all of that? Because obviously we covered, the USFL and XFL and everything here the last couple seasons. So what was your reaction when you heard all this?
I was happy that it was, because the one thing I thought the product last year was a little bit watered down, both leagues. I think you got the best of the best guys now. You also got a competitive league, and we're all over the country. We're in the right places. 3 teams in Texas. Texas is a big football state. DC gonna have a lot of guys. St. Louis gonna have a lot of people. Michigan, I thought last year they had great turnouts. Birmingham is Birmingham. They're good. So all the places we are, I think those are the places we should be. And I really, really like the product now because it's not watered down.
Yeah, in terms of, we covered obviously the kind of what did they call it? The dispersal draft. And then we kind of have the first round that cuts over the weekend, last weekend. How challenging was that? Because we were even seeing some of the names. Like there's only so many spots. There's so many good players.
Very, very tough. Last year we started with 58 players and you kind of knew who the team was. It was, even with the 58, there was some that glaring guys that you knew these guys are not going to make the team. But right now, man, it was. Matter of fact, we cut 2 players that we had to get back already because the evaluation was good at the time. But man, we got a couple of injuries, and I'm glad to have them back. I think they're really good players.
How do you feel like the team's shaping up thus far?
Very good. It's a good quarterback competition. Once we settle in on a quarterback, I don't know who it is, and I don't know when we're going to do it. I just got out of the meeting, and we just talked about all 3 of them. But I think once that person is kind of the leader in the one, I think the offense will do a little bit better. It's not that we're struggling, but it's just we're still in the evaluation process.
In terms of, being the coach of the Gamblers, now moving over, what was your reaction kind of hearing that, Gamblers would be going away and it would be the Roughnecks?
I was a follower of the Roughnecks. One of my best friends was Brian Stewart. He was the defense coordinator last year. I followed him a lot. I just thought that he did a great job. I thought that they were the best team for most of the time in the USFL, in the XFL. And then, I was excited. I was excited about getting the team. I thought, man, it was just great just being in Houston and playing games in Houston.
Because, in terms of XFL teams sticking around, I mean, obviously, DC and St. Louis here, and obviously they announced today the championship game going to be there. But, Roughnecks carry a lot of weight back to 2020. So there's a lot of fans and, it is, I don't know. It's hard for me sometimes with these spring leagues with 2-3 years worth of history. I mean, the Gamblers go way, way back, but there is a very strong following for, are you happy to carry that on? Are you sad to see the 80s kind of Gamblers go away?
Well, it's a split decision. It's a draw. So I love the Gamblers. I love what the Gamblers brought. Jim Kelly played at Miami. I was at Miami for 10 years. I had the pleasure of meeting him. Clarence Verdun, a friend of mine, he played for the Gamblers back in the old Gambler days. So having those guys as friends also. But when I met the Roughneck Nation in Houston a couple of weeks ago, man, I just love them. They are really Roughnecks. They're good fans. They great support. They knowledgeable fans. They smart. Look, I'm excited to play this first game, so I just go down in their section. I may sit with them for a while, but I'm telling you, they are knowledgeable fans.
In terms of coming back here year 2 now, now merge, carrying over, feeling more comfort level there. I mean, what is kind of the knowledge now being able to bring back in the second season?
It's just new. It's like the first season. It is another first season. It's a little different from us. We had a different model. We had more of a system where 2 teams per city. Now all the teams are in the same city. So one thing you can do, you can practice against any team you need to. It's a more close-knit family. I know all the coaches now, whereas I never met most of the other coaches from those other places. So that's a good deal. But we're still in the learning phase of the new system. Rules are a little bit different, but we're adjusting to that also.
Yeah, in terms of the hub stuff, obviously, different hub situations with the USFL and the XFL. What's it been like now, kind of like you said, having everything there, all the resources? I mean, that's what we talked about some of the coaches last year. Like all the trainers are there, all the equipment's there, everybody's there. Has it been a nice setup for you guys in Arlington?
Look, I think it's been an excellent setup. You can get your help right. I mean, you can get help right away. If there's an injury, man, you got doctors. You got everything. You got from other teams. You got everything. A player gets cut. We had to claim it. We claimed the player, and he was cut yesterday. He's playing for us today. And we had a player do that for other teams also. So just that, everybody being in the same general vicinity, man, I think that's awesome. I think it's outstanding.
In terms of kind of football, I guess, execs, leadership, whatever, having Daryl around, having Russ Brand, and kind of combining the best of both, what is just your take of that, and just kind of with all the coaches and you guys, just the football knowledge kind of in the room there, and how is that working out?
Probably is just as good as the NFL. Both of those guys. Daryl does games. I watch him. I'm a fan. He knows the NFL. He played in the NFL forever. Russ Brandon was at Buffalo for a long time. I remember playing against his team when I was with the Saints, how good they played. Doug Whaley, I mean, all those guys. Man, they're good. Was with the Steelers. I mean, you got a star-studded league of players. So, I mean, of administrators and coaches. So I would say this. I think the experience factor is tremendous. And what all those guys have to bring, that's what makes the league so smooth.
With Josh Peterson going to the NFL, have there been any other tight ends that have stepped up in terms of players you're looking at here?
Man, I like our tight ends. I like the two tight ends we got. We got Woody. Man, he's good at Bowman. I don't know if they're going to replace Josh Peterson per se, but man, both of those guys are great pass catchers and route runners. I wish I had Josh, but these guys will be equally successful.
Yeah, how do you balance that mentality wise of wanting to, obviously have the best football team going, but then also, the goal here? I mean, we interviewed Coach Beck with the Battlehawks here last year, and he said, a successful season for him would be having every player make the NFL. So how do you balance that as a head coach?
Well, you try to go out and get the best players you can, and you get guys that want to and want to play well. And if they play well and they do what they're asked to do in this league, I think the NFL will find them.
Were you pleasantly surprised with the level of interest that the players have seen in the NFL here coming out of the last couple seasons of these spring leagues?
Absolutely. Look, here's what I'm most surprised about: how well prepared most of these guys are coming from and getting ready to probably go back to the NFL. There's more ex-NFL players on these rosters than you can shake a stick at. I mean, it's a lot of them. It's some teams, like right now, we have double-digit ex-NFL players, and they practice and they play like it. So you can't ask for more than that.
Does that speak to the importance of having leagues like this, or a league like this, now that we're trying to, because this is really kind of, we're putting all the cards in here, not to use like a gambler's reference or anything, but like the importance of having a spring league and alt league like this for these guys to get another shot?
Absolutely. It's too many good football players out here. I mean, you know them. There are more probably good quarterbacks and more good running backs or receivers, whatever the position is on the street, if you don't have a spring league like that, than the law allows. So I like what we're doing with these leagues, because now the NFL, I've had several buddies call about players already. So, you love this league. I love the timing of it. It's right before the season. They'll have a couple of weeks and if guys will sign them, they have a couple of weeks and then they can go on and play. I had a receiver, Isaiah Zuber. He played for the Raiders, played for them, then came to us, went back to the Raiders, came back to us, and now he's on Birmingham's team. So I mean, this kid has wealth of experience, good player, played for the Raiders, and now he's back in our league.
Yeah, what kind of reaction do you get from other, your friends in the football world here of like, hey, I'm involved in this? Like, do they get jazzed about that? Do they get what you're doing?
Yeah, they love it, because like football coaches, coaches ask me about players on my team, and I'm like, who you like? Say, hey, we really like this guy, we really like that one, because Josh was getting some interest. Mark, our running back, he got some interest last year. Justin Hall got some interest. So they'll call and ask about, or they'll ask me, do you have a linebacker, or do you have a kicker, or what do you have? And so it's interesting to see their take on some of the guys, because they'll ask me about guys from other teams also. So they're watching. The NFL's watching.
In terms of your growth as a head coach here, coming in here from Tulane and now being able to kind of take over and run growth, have you experienced a lot of growth? Because obviously we're trying to build the players up and get them going, but you obviously, professionally as well, how do you feel like you've done?
I think I'm doing well. I think I'm doing, and the reason why I'm doing so well, I got a great staff. If you put great people around you, Chris Wilson, Eric Price, both NFL experience. Chris was with Philadelphia Eagles, won a Super Bowl. Eric Price was with Kansas City Chiefs, and lately with Jacksonville Jaguars. So those guys have wealth of experience. They're helping me. They know the players. All these players are professional football players. No matter what league, they aren't. They don't even act like college players. They are professional. They're in meetings. They got that iPad. They're taking notes. They're asking great questions. So, that helps you. You're not Tulane, a little bit of college is a babysitting sometime, but it's not that here. It reminds me of coaching at the Saints and the Bears.
Do you feel like your OC has grown with you as well, coming from Tulane over here and what you guys have been able to do?
Absolutely. Look, I'm telling you, I just love what we're doing here.
And then the last couple here, I'll let you go. I have a question here, Pat, one of our writers. One of your former quarterbacks, Ryan Griffin, has transitioned to coaching. Did you ever he ever kick the tires about coming to play or coach or be a part of everything going on here?
I would see him twice a year, and he was in when I was at the Saints, I'd see him, and he was always a coaching type guy. And I know right now, I received a text from him congratulating me last year, but I know right now he would definitely love to do this. I know Ronnie's smart beyond his years.
You view this as a good opportunity for coaches, kind of at whatever level to come in and get?
Great. It's not a good opportunity. It's a great opportunity. Anytime you can coach professional athletes and you can do it for a certain amount of time and you're preparing the team, it's game preparation, and you're sharpening your skills. Now you can try different things out. You got everyone has a hand in the roster. So I mean, it's a great. It's not a good. It's a great opportunity.
Last question for me. Like I said, they announced the championship game here today, going to be in St. Louis. What would you say, Roughneck fans here? We've had again, it's, not many years here, but, people are invested in this. What would you say to kind of the Roughnecks fan base and loyalists here?
Look, it's in St. Louis. Just prepare. We going. Let's go to St. Louis.
Well, Chris, I really appreciate it. First UFL coach here of the season checking in. So I appreciate it. Training camp. Hope everything goes well. And then we'll be down there. We're going to, we'll be in Dallas for some of the games and maybe we'll try to get to Houston as well. So I appreciate your time, sir.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, here we are. First, we're back in the pre-interviewed here. We've been doing a lot of live shows, but this is our first training camp check-in here. We have Darius Victor. Sir, how are you doing? You're our first voice here coming into UFL training camp 2024.
Oh man, I'm honored to be sets first, But yeah, I'm feeling great, man. I'm honored to be here, and having a great time with training camp and just taking a day at a time.
We've been seeing, media days, everything coming out, a lot of pictures and getting some glimpses of uniform stuff. How's everything going for you down there? It's been, 2 weeks now?
Everything's been pretty smooth, man. Shout out to the league for putting everything together, bringing 8 teams together, a whole bunch of guys, and having everything run smoothly is hard to do. So shout out to the league for making it all happen and making us all feel comfortable.
In terms of kind of, a little bit of a homecoming here, right? XFL 2020. Now we're back in Arlington here, obviously with the Showboats. But how does it feel kind of full circle to be back, kind of doing all this 3 years later, 4 years, I guess, later?
I'm getting old, man. I just turned 30 yesterday, so I'm blessed to still be playing the game I love. And actually, we had an onboarding at the stadium. I played in XFL 2020, the Dallas team, Arlington. We won that game, so it felt good just being back in there. I was like, I remember that day. So it's pretty good. It's all like take it at all moment. I don't take it for granted. It's a lot of guys that want this opportunity, and I'm just blessed to still be playing the game at a high level. So very grateful for that.
Well, happy belated birthday here. That's exciting. Did they do anything? Did anyone? Did you get a cake or anything?
Oh man, I got a whole bunch of stuff, man. People love me, and I'm the guy that don't celebrate my birthday, so I'm just like, no, stop, don't do anything. But a lot of love, man. I so greatly appreciate it, and grateful.
I see. I'm just noticing here the sweatshirt you have. You guys getting some good merch here coming out?
Oh yeah, definitely good merch. Under Armour and The Rock, they've been keeping us, a funny looking guy like myself, looking really good out here because of the UA and The Rock. So shout out to that.
Now I know he's healing right now against Cody Rhodes and everything. Have you seen has ownership been around in that way? I mean, I know Daryl Johnson's running around and all that. Have you guys had a chance?
I've met the Daryl Johnson, Pop, and all those guys, but I haven't seen The Rock. I mean, like you said, he's probably busy being The Rock, the coolest guy on earth. So he gets a pass.
So back here, the third, fourth, kind of however you want to look at this round here, what is it about these spring leagues that keeps you coming back? I mean, is it the opportunity? Is it the drive? Because it's a lot. I would just could imagine to go through this.
It's a mixture of both, the opportunity, just for the love of the game, and just the great football. I love the game of football. Want to play it for as long as possible, and I'm still playing at a high level. So I'm just trying to. I'm looking at these rosters, and everybody roster is pretty stacked. It's like an all-star team. Even our team is pretty loaded. So it's like I'm juiced up for the competition, and I'm trying to crank it up this year.
Yeah, we've heard that. I think it was Bob Stoops here, formerly with the Renegades and all that, talking the amount of talent here where you're combining these teams. Do you see that? And are you seeing? It must be kind of like a Survivor All Stars or something where you're like, okay, this guy was on this or this guy.
Honestly, it is. It's like the best of the best. And a lot of good football players that don't have jobs. So just to imagine, put that in perspective, and seeing the guys that are here is like, okay, this is like the 1% of the 1% type of thing. So it's I'm excited for how it all shapes out. I think it's going to be down to who execute coaching, and it's going to be a lot of close games and a lot of tough battles.
What was your reaction kind of hearing all this UFL stuff coming out as someone that's been in all these and obviously a standout in the USFL here the last couple seasons?
I honestly was sad because I lost the Generals and I was through and through a New Jersey General. Lost a lot of my teammates, my coaching staff. So it was kind of like a bittersweet moment. But I know it's for the bigger picture type of thing. So I mean, this is for the kids coming up after me and all the other stuff. So I got to stop being selfish and look at it from a broader point of view. And it's a great thing happening. So I'm excited to be a part of it, like to be a part of history, and hopefully I could cement myself into some history here coming up soon.
So, there's obviously a lot of jokey animosity online, right, with the XFL fans, either the USFL fans, and kind of all this. Now, I know you guys, in Arlington, scrimmaging together, the teams breaking down. Like, is there animosity between, you got the XFL teams and the USFL teams? Like, how does that? I don't know how the dynamics are.
I mean, if we would have kept it the same, like, two leagues just play each other, yeah, I think it would have been more. But like those guys in Arlington, like my QB1, Luis Perez is over here. I can't be mad at that guy. So I mean, like those are my family. So it's not me personally. I don't have any animosity, but it should be a good, bragging rights type of thing. XFL, USFL, see who wins the championship, and hopefully it's the Showboats, and that's the plan. So.
Well, there's a lot of, there's a lot of good USFL talent here on this, and especially, this opening game. I know you're not going to be, but, formerly here of the Renegades going up against Birmingham. What was it like from the outside seeing Luis Perez win the championship last year? We were there. We went to the Alamo Dome for that one.
I was yelling at the TV. I already knew it was going to happen, man. When Luis gets in his bag, and my thing is, if you keep Luis up, he's going to always give you a chance. So I seen it happen. Gary and all those guys blocking for him. And I was like, I was rooting for them because I knew more players on that team. Even though I'm from Maryland, I should be. When they played DC, I was rooting for Luis just because I knew more players. But yeah, I already knew what he was capable of. As soon as I seen him in his little mode, calling plays, moving people around, I said, "Oh yeah, they got this." So, yep.
Talking now, you got Case Cookus, presumably is one of the quarterbacks you have. He was on the show back when he was with the Stars. That was kind of unfortunately our team with the USFL. I had to pick when we were the Philadelphia Stars. It was even funny talking with him, like him breaking his leg and then having to get married. I'm a wedding videographer, so we kind of reminisced about all that stuff. But what's it been like, kind of seeing him and knowing that he's at least going to be one of the faces of the team? And what are your thoughts about the quarterback that you guys have now?
The chef, man, I've been admiring him from afar for so long. I'm glad he's on my team now. Pretty cool guy, man. And I'm gonna do all to do all I can to help him win ball games and keep him safe. So I'm excited to play with the guy. I joked around with him the other day. I'm like, Case, where are you from? He was like, California. I think he's from like California somewhere. I'm like, of course that makes sense. Brady, Case, like just GOAT stuff. That makes sense. So he's earned the name, and hopefully he continues to play at the high level that I know he can. So excited for him to be my quarterback.
Has the transition here to a new team been alleviated by having some familiar faces from the Generals over there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like, hey, a familiar face always helps. Also my college teammate is on this team as well. It's actually my roommate for camp, Ty Smith. So it's just a whole bunch of nostalgic type feel. So it's a smooth transition, and I'm happy for it.
I had the question here as a 29-year-old, but now obviously you've had your birthday. As a 30-year-old, kind of your running back, do you feel like the spring football, where it's a longer off season, shorter in season, has that helped you prolong your play, and has it helped you kind of excel here further into than maybe you would otherwise?
Oh man, 30 is the new 25. I still got the juice. I be killing them boys at practice still, so I still got it. But the break, of course, always helps. Especially after 10 games, 10 hopefully 12 games, hard fought 12 games, no bye week. So just any amount of that football, you're gonna have some aches and bruises, and that time off usually helps. So.
Talk about spring football just in terms of kind of developing players, recruiting players here for the future, and trying to get one of these spring leagues to stick. And obviously we have the competing and all that, but now if this can stick around and being able to recruit players, FCS players and other kind of developmental players.
I think it's honestly, I don't want to call it developmental league because it's a lot of great talent, and it's 10 games. It's not like there's no OTAs, there's no 17 games, there's no 3-4 year contracts. So you got to come in ready to play because it's going. And so you got to be available to play. But I do think it's another platform for people to show that they can play. and have more opportunities for scouts and say in the NFL to see, okay, that guy played maybe at a small school. Now he's playing against some better talent in the UFL, stuff like that. But I don't want to call it developmental because the same way I was running guys over in the NFL, running them over now, it's the same thing. It's great talent, and most guys actually have played in the NFL in some type of way.
Should have got to this earlier, but in terms of the hub setup, obviously you did the Birmingham and then kind of was in the Canton one last year. And then now what's it like in terms of this one, and how is everything there all in Arlington? We talked obviously with players with the XFL last season, but what's it like in kind of having all the facilities there?
It's been pretty smooth. I'm still in camp, so I haven't really wandered out and about, but it's been pretty smooth. The weather has been great. It's coming from camp last year. Birmingham was good. I like because I'm a Heat guy. I live in Miami. I'm from Africa. I love the heat. So people complain about the heat, but I love the heat. I hate the cold. So shout out. The weather's been pretty good. So I'm excited for that. And then I haven't, like I said, I haven't been out and about, but I've heard great things about Dallas. I've been here a couple times for football reasons, but not actually just to explore the city. So looking forward to eating a lot of the new food. That's my favorite thing about being in a new city, trying new restaurants. So I'm looking forward to that. I've heard great things though. So I'm pretty sure it's going to live up to expectations.
Well, yeah, and this season taking place a little bit later, they had the great, I think it was the Texas ice storm here last season during training camp. So you missed all of that this year.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, they were going to do the test games and stuff, and they had to cancel all that because, yeah, the great Texas ice storm came in. Here, just a couple more. I'll let you go because I know you got a million different things. Just talk about the home field advantage here in terms of being able to play in all the markets, and obviously we tried to do that with the Canton Hub last year, but having kind of true home field advantages when you're going out and playing especially like Memphis, I think had a good showing out for the USFL. What are your thoughts on that and kind of where the XFL model here merged with USFL trying to do that?
I'm excited for home and away because there's a lot of other places that crowds showed up and showed noises. So I'm excited to play in that, and I feel like just the crowd and the atmosphere always makes you turn up a notch, and you don't want to let the people down and want to let your fans down. So I'm excited. I've actually been to a Memphis game. We had came down with Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh played Memphis, and I actually went to. I love football, so I just go to the game and watch it. So it was good. I was at the famous Derek Dillon's 109 return, so I was there watching, and I was like, oh, but it was nice. So I'm excited for it. It should be pretty fun to be part of the yacht club officially, and so yeah.
Yeah, last question. Yeah, any places you're excited to see again? I mean, go back to Audi Field, you go back to the Dome. I mean, a lot of even though the XFL, there's some iconic places there.
I'm excited to play in Memphis, of course. That's home now. I'm excited to go back in St. Louis. I played in that dome in 2020. Who should be good? Actually, I'm excited for everything, but honestly, Birmingham, be back in Birmingham again. That place was good. Good showing. They love those guys out there. Rightfully so. They play good football. So Birmingham, Memphis, and St. Louis. Those are the three. I was kind of sad though because I wanted to play in DC in front of my friends and family, but they come to us this year. So unfortunately, that sucks.
Well, you got to get in. Yeah, avoid the lemons and the throwing the lemon wedges and the beer snake and all that stuff. Yeah, I went there when Seattle played in the playoffs, and they threw me out of the section because I was dressed as. They said for your own safety, you got to get out of here. So yeah, DC can be a little rowdy. Darius, I appreciate it taking the time. This might have to be my USFL team here, Andy. Like I've said, your media guy is great, so I appreciate setting this up. Good luck with everything. I know cuts and everything are coming, but lots of confidence in all this, and I'm excited to see what you do this year, just with kind of the elevated talent all across the board.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. Thanks. Well, here we are back here. We have Pat Rifino. We're not streaming today. We're recording. So somehow we're going to talk about different things, but people really wanted to, but this is good. I mean, and I want to get your thoughts on kind of all this UFL stuff anyway, but like, it has really been a struggle bus getting these interviews going here for training camp. So I don't know if maybe now everybody's there. We're kind of getting it all figured out. Pat, first off, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Reed. Thank you for having me on. I think how long has it been since I actually did a recorded show? That would be the.
I haven't done a recorded show in forever. I mean, the last one was like it's been a really long time. It was like pre-announcement, everything. I was trying to look at that too. It's been a really long time since because you know how YouTube like organizes everything.
Yeah. No, but I don't think I've been on one probably for even longer, to be honest, because we've been doing the live streams, you and I. So
yeah, October 27th was the last recorded episode we've done.
Yeah, because even your CFL stuff was all live. Yeah.
So here we're March 14th. So we're going to talk today. We're going to talk UFL championship game. I want to talk this Mike Mitchell's report about ESPN having a show come out the stream. We'll talk about your All-Markcast list and all that stuff. But we're 2 weeks from kickoff. Like, how are you feeling? Welfare check.
Man, you know, there's, in my opinion, I'm just so invested on football that I really don't care. But maybe you know what I mean, man. Like maybe I've lost that oomph. Maybe I'm a Debbie Downer or negative Nancy, as people have been called. Maybe I'm the problem, right? But I mean, in the end, I'm more jazzed up about seeing these guys going out to perform. And that's if I keep it in those parameters. Where are we going that way? If I keep it in those parameters, I don't really care on the exterior business side. And, you know, I'm at this point too, where everyone thinks that they can do spring football better. So I think I'll see probably 5 or 6 more iterations of spring football before I pass away. Like, you know, that might be a little bit of a down on it, but I just feel like, you know, when I was doing this Markcast list, this is what really kind of put me into it, was I was looking at like all these guys, and a lot of them were like, okay, in the 2019 season, he was in the AAF, and XFL 2020, and then Spring League 2021, and then, you know, USFL, and then XFL 2023, and now in the UFL. And I'm like, these guys have played almost 6 seasons of football, of employed football.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to keep coming no matter what. We might have a year or two break, you know, might do some live streams of the Markcast, a couple pre-recorded of guys talking about the rose-colored glasses. But spring football is here to stay, in my opinion. It's just always going to have a different name.
I'm torn. I go back and forth because this, and you all know, and Dorothy, and it's been frustrating here just kind of with this training camp. Because I agree with you and Max, you know, we talk and hey, okay, just, you know, we're almost to football, but there's just nothing about this in the last 2-3 months. And I know the merger stuff came late that feels any different than what we did last year. And so I don't know if you know, just combining the teams and airing more commercials, you know, we saw what the USFL did with better time slots, and that's not going to be the whole conversation today. I just want to get this off the top, but like, I just don't see a lot of change happening that like, okay, well, this one's going to top. I mean, we'll do preseason kind of TV ratings, all that. I just don't see a tremendous like spike here. I don't feel like content is booming right now in terms of like, if you put out a UFL training camp preview, it's getting, you know, thousands and thousands of people invested in it.
Yeah, and especially with me being like a stats guy and an analytics guy, you know, that might not be the best mold. Like sometimes, in my opinion, you just need to put out like a, you know, uncommunicable content, and that gets the most clicks and likes. But on the flip side of that, you know what I was thinking, as I am closer to you on the same time zone right now, is today obviously the announcement of the UFL championship. Would it be cool if they did like a quarter of the Super Bowl like media day? Wouldn't that be pretty cool? That's what I'm holding out for right now. If they gave us 2 days, and us, it doesn't have to be me, it could be, you know, traditional media sources, whatever. But if they gave us 2 days of media access where you can even do kind of how like Taylor Lewan had his podcast set up there and he was just running people through to sit down. Mm-hmm. It's a doable thing to do at St. Louis because there is a convention center in the Edward Jones Zone.
Yeah, I like that, and I know the CFL is trying to bring that back this next year in Vancouver, and we were obviously with the Lions last year for our show, which did really well, and they're trying to incorporate more of that, right? And they're like, hey, you're welcome to be a part of that. I mean, my thing is, I think if I would like to see that if you're in Arlington, I feel like you get tremendous. Like I could eat like a king if I lived in Arlington and didn't work, right? I mean, obviously Anthony's got day jobs, but if you were unemployed in Arlington, you would have the best UFL coverage in the world right now. But it's the 99.9% of everyone that's not there.
If it was like the way it was this year, but last year for me, like I would have spent a week in Arlington. I would have grabbed my studio. I would have brought it down. I would have asked the UFL, where do I set up? And I'm going to be sleeping in this spot for 20 like I'm going to be there for 7 days, 24 hours, siphon them through. Like, let's do and maybe I have to move hotel to hotel or whatever. But I was like, whoever wants 15 minutes of fame in front of my camera, that would, I think, and maybe if it's around next year and schedules line up, I'll do it. Like that's actually a low key goal of mine.
Yeah.
But I mean, just who really wants to do that? Like, and not to be selfish, but in your opinion, what would be my ROI on that?
No, it's just to do it. I mean, that's the problem at this point.
It would be the connections. It would be off-camera conversations. It would be care. The fact you show you care, and then for every 10 players you interview, 2 of them go to the NFL. 1 of them has a great career, and then you're hanging out on the couch, and then all of a sudden your phone blows up because possible example, Kenny Robinson's story got out and you're the one that told it and you're the first thing that comes up and you're like, oh, that's cool. Hey babe, you want to go to Chipotle now? Like,
no, I just, my last thought on this, because I want to get to the news of the day. Like I, even last year where we had like Josh Lewin and all that, like there's no, even if you're going to have, and you don't need to deal with me or Mark or any of these people, like just have someone there that's producing this stuff. Cause I think the XFL would, or I keep saying that, I think the UFL would benefit from even just having a corporate approved internal voice, at least pushing some of this stuff out, even if it's necessarily not something that I would want to listen to every day, but I think you would get casual people on that listen to, a day in the life kind of thing that's produced by the league. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and I apologize, I'm typing right now, but like you make it feel more real, it's not Shannon Sharp reading, Clayton Thorsan touchdown to that guy. Like you got to get people who care and, like who actually watch the film and can break down. And like, I was talking to the End Zone kid, and he asked me to go on the show, and he was like, do you have a whiteboard? And I was like, yeah. He's like, could you write the plays that you're seeing and like do that? Because no one's doing that on like ESPN. And I was like, yeah, I mean, if I got time, I'll do it. But like, that should be something where they have the thing where they're pointing, it's not a big deal. Like it doesn't get too crazy in my opinion.
So the other thing, well, I guess we'll talk. So first off, let's talk, because I want to talk the UFL, the new show they're having too. Maybe we can have more conversation about that. But the announcement today officially now, long rumored, officially going to be the UFL championship game going to be, was it June 16th in St. Louis that Sunday? Which I have a wedding the day before, so that's kind of tough. Thoughts on that? I mean, we did the San Antonio. I like that in terms of a tourist destination, more central. It feels to me like, unless St. Louis is in the title game, I don't know. I don't sense like Brahma's faithful traveling across the country.
Yeah. I mean, I think if St. Louis is in the title game, like, I think the sky's the limit on like people being there, and I think ratings would be great. No matter what. If it's a St. Louis Birmingham, I think that brings even more Alabama people there because of AJ and whatnot. St. Louis is very sports oriented. They starve for this football team and whatnot, and all the stuff we've talked about in nauseum. And I think because of the high schools, all that stuff, the 7, 8, or 9 St. Louis locals that actually play there, and like that play in the UFL, that have ties to the NFL players. You take a guy like Darius Shepard from Kansas City, and maybe I'm like stacking feathers, but what weighs more, 100 tons versus feathers, or 100-ton versus bricks? It don't matter how much they weigh. It's how much of each. It's the same. So when you take things like that, you factor in my opinion, the starving of football. You could get a lot of people bringing plus ones based off the people that are even a part of the teams, and then branch it out and whatnot. And another thing is that a couple of the agents are based out of St. Louis, which we're talking maybe 50 more people. Yep. But that stuff matters because, you're going to get guys who are a part of the league, a part of the NFL, taking pictures that they're supporting these guys or former players. And I think that matters to an extent from an optic view.
To me, it makes sense. I like, I'm always surprised that they don't just do Choctaw, just because everybody's there. But it's a weird stadium, right? I don't know if that photographs. San Antonio was definitely not full last year, right? In terms of, I can't remember the number, 23,000 or something.
20, yeah, it was close to 25K, which,
yeah.
I mean, I take that as a win, like for it not being St. Louis and not being San Antonio team. Like, maybe I'm looking at it like to half full, but I still think if St. Louis isn't in it, you'll get 30,000+ people there. I think a lot of people in Missouri would go. In St. Louis area, it's something to do. Now, from a safety standpoint, oh boy, man, some of these kids are going to get their cars broken into. They're not going to want to pay that $20 to have the guy guarding their car. But if you need help with transportation securely in St. Louis,
it's good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad we got this out of the way. I don't know if this is the good timing of it, or if you wanted to do something middle of the season, just because obviously, I think be a season ticket holder and you'll get first right of refusal, whatever, to get tickets to this. So it makes sense to get out of the way. I don't know. People want DC. It's far. It's hard getting into DC and some of these other. I mean, I think Houston's a tough one. Obviously Memphis and everything else. So I think you're hamstrung a little bit there in Michigan. So to me, it kind of makes the most sense unless you're doing the purely neutral stadium. But at that point, then you're negotiating a whole new lease with, Lumen Field or so. I mean, what do you do? I mean, you got to do one of the ones that are kind of incorporated in. So I think it's the best you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were asking for it too. Like, I feel like a lot of people, I mean, you're also hedging the bet too that St. Louis will be in the championship. Like, I think I'll plot twist this for a little bit. I think the optimal attendance would be Memphis and St. Louis because they're 3.5 hours away from each other. Like,
yeah.
I mean, for attendance for that game, yeah, I'm very curious.
The other news we had, and I'll get the article up here, is and this was exciting to me because I think we were talking about this with John Lewis last week, in terms of, again, this, getting podcasts out, getting content out. I think just having a staff writer, having somebody involved with the league, kind of pushing out stuff that's not the press release, updating the website. But we're going to have Scooby. We're bringing back Scooby and then Daniel Dopp, doing kind of, what was it, the XFL Today show last time? Yeah. It was like on ESPN too, right? But then it was also on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to shill for myself or anything like that, but it's like, how invested are they in this league? How much do they actually know football? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are they stepping stone this? Like, I felt like Josh Lewin was pretty in, and I think it was you who really turned my head to it, to where you were like, he's not a bad guy. Like, he cares.
Well, he came on the show. He was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he came on the show. He was just really busy and didn't. I took him not interacting and kind of promoting on social media as a not caring. It was more of a time constraint. He was invested. It was like, I just don't have time to engage with people online all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, you really turned me in a positive light to Josh, and it's just kind of like, excuse me, we're losing like continuity, but on some phases of this, but these guys are going to come back and they're going to give a decent effort. I wasn't biggest fan of the show, to be honest with you. I like the Player 54 a little bit more when they weren't talking about The Rock. But at this point with the content, you got every you and the other stuff, and it's like it's get the casuals who are drinking a beer on a Friday to watch it and whatnot, or Saturday, and I mean people, and then maybe that leads to more people getting it online. Like I would need to see the metrics to have a bigger take on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if you're attracting any new viewers from this. I think what you're doing is you're showing a commitment. Now, at this point, Fox still hasn't announced obviously we have the ESPN, ABC broadcasters. John Lewis and I talked about that last week. And then now we have this announcement through ESPN. Now, I could see the Fox announcement coming out today as this airs, Friday, like, hey, Joe Klatt, whatever is going to be involved. But to me, at least, this shows a commitment to, we're devoting man hours and woman out. We're devoting production costs and resources. And also, for whatever it is, I am someone that when I watch whatever it is, it could be a cracking game, it could be a movie, it could be like, I like having post content where I feel like I'm engaged in the conversation, where everything's so segmented nowadays, where you don't have 12 million people watching Lost every Wednesday and you can go into work the next day. I like feeling, even the Kraken, they'll have like 300-400 people watching their post game. These two guys I watch, feeling like you're a part of that community, I think is really exciting. And so I like how, this is the same thing we try to do with our, Monday post games or whatever. We'll figure out what we're going to do. But I like having that feeling like you have another outlet immediately after. And yeah, I mean, I think Scooby knows what he's going to know. I mean, they're going to do the research ahead of time as much as whatever. But yeah, I do. Spoiler alert. You and I could talk just as much as some of these ESPN people in terms of like upcoming games.
Better. I would argue better. I mean,
but yeah, there's cachet. There's name cachet, and there's name cachet to something being on ESPN. So I mean, at least it's better than them not doing it, I feel like.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like, I mean, you got to show up. You got to at least show up, right? And that's what they're doing. It's definitely not the bare minimum. It's a couple ticks above it. But I mean, on the flip side, how invested do you want to get into something that has never worked?
Are you pretty? You said you were excited about this. Are you pretty? So excited, not so bullish?
No, I mean, like, how invested? Like, it's never worked. Like, if we go off the data, how much resource and time do you want to throw into this when next year it might not be here?
Yeah,
I think it's going to be here next year. I think we get 3 years. I think we reset and we're back on our 3-year rule. And by year 3, we figure out if we're doing this or not. Because if not, I got to sell a couple helicopters to start the quality football league.
Well, is it the negative Nancy football league? Any other kind of news notes? We'll do the All-Markcast. Any other news notes, transactions this week? Some Panthers quarterback stuff. Anything else in terms of transactions that surprised you? I know we had the roster cuts. Was that Sunday coming in?
Yeah, it was the roster cuts, and then the next wave of cuts I think are on the what's
week
it called?
After next, yeah,
3rd or something like that. And I mean the big one was Cole Kelly, but I did my media day with the Showboats, and Doug Martin talked a little bit about it, and I mean, it just seemed that like Cole wasn't athletic enough for their system, and that Troy Williams and Case Cookis were progressing. I want to talk about this. Is Chris Orr retired? He's been in the league for 2 years with the Generals, And, Chris, to me, was a guy, a pretty good linebacker. Like I would, the problem is that they're all good linebackers now because there's, condensed teams. But he's a fringe NFL guy. I'd say he's not as good as DeMarcus Gates. A little, in my opinion, watching the tape, none of this matters at this point. What I'm saying, but he's a little stiff in the hips, but that's neither here nor there. Still way more athletic than I am. He's going to be an outside linebackers assistant or something like that at some school in Texas. I don't remember where it said.
Yeah, it took a job though, but yeah.
But he took and pay aside. Here's what bothers me is that he's at camp. Spring ball is already going on for this major university. You're bringing this guy mid camp to be a coach now, like. They don't. That's my take. I don't like that ultimatum that he was given. For what we know.
Oh, gotcha.
That's like you have to start now. It's like, dude, you're like 15 days in. Like, the spring game is for the major colleges is like a week. Like some schools, it's a week away. Others, it's like 15 days. Like, so that's a little disheartening. We saw Bo Scarborough retiring, but we're just seeing guys retire, man. They're. I just think they put the pads on. And they're like, I really want to do this for $50,000.
Are you surprised how big of a deal that the UF? I mean, you would have thought that Kennedy was shot. I mean, the UFL did a lot of. I mean, this was like a major thing that Bo Scarborough announcing retirement. I was. I mean, obviously, kudos to anyone get, but I was surprised that it was such a.
I liked it. I really liked it, and I would hope that they do that for a Luis Perez or Jordan Teamu, because nothing against Scarborough, but I mean, the guy played in like 11 games in spring football. When you tell the story of spring football, you might mention Bo Scarborough in the championship game or the playoff game where he had like 140 yards. But when you tell the story of spring football, which will be my argument when I start my campaign for Luis Perez in the Hall of Fame, it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You cannot tell the story of pro football in the 2000s without Luis Perez. And if you disagree with me, I don't know what else I can do to convince you. So while he'll obviously probably not get into the Hall of Fame, despite the social media push we'll have at the time, I do appreciate what they did do for Bo. I just hope that you set a standard, technically, in my opinion, that doesn't make the most sense. But that being said, it does lead me to think it was an injury-related issue.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of like Chris Orr stuff today, right? I mean, this was like a campaign for Scarborough the other day, right? Because was it earlier this week? Like my tooth, I'm kind of all out on dates right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember when they did it, but I thought he was running for Congress. I thought that's who Robert Kennedy was going to make his VP. Like, move over Aaron Rodgers, Bo Scarborough, man of the people.
The other thing, and I have a question for you. So we had this come out, I guess it was Stoops and Anthony had this out. Coach Stoops was talking about, speaking of Perez, going to be the starting quarterback at least week 1 for the Renegades. No surprise there, right? But I mean, I don't know. I always say, like, how many times can you try that Luis Perez? But I mean, every time it seems like it works.
Well, it's funny. I always make this joke, and it's if it wasn't for Luis Perez, Arlington never goes to the champion or to the playoffs, and everyone's like, yeah, he came on real strong at the end. And I go, yeah, he also threw 5 touchdowns against them. And they're like, what do you mean 5 touchdowns? I go, yeah, he threw 3 touchdowns to his team and 2 to the Renegades in week 1, and that's why they, that win put it over a little bit. And it's funny. It's funny. We would have saw 2 tiebreakers if that whole situation happened as well. Not as dramatic with 2, 3, and 7 teams in the other division, but still it would have been something to talk about. So with that being said, like, I'm not surprised. I was a little surprised they got rid of Drew Plitt, which kind of makes me feel like they wasted his time. And maybe and maybe like this. I don't know. They just wanted younger blood, but that Plitt is not going to be your QB2. Like, why do you even bring him in the camp? I don't think. From what I saw, I've seen some nasty throws from Holton Ahlers in a bad way. I mean, Lindsey Scott looked so much better than him from the clips I've seen. So, in my opinion, it's the order of things, and it makes sense. But on the flip side, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't be surprised if there's a QB injury. Lindsey Scott's pressing hard, and they do what they do. And Luis is going to be an adult and make it happen.
In terms of other kind of training, and then we'll get to the All-Markcast team here. I know they have the scrimmage clips coming out. Greg Parks commented that there was a lot of interceptions being shown and all that. Like, are you getting enough between that and the coaches stuff putting out, like, to know kind of how these teams are progressing, or is it just hard? Because like even I'm talking with Curtis Johnson in the area, like, oh yeah, everyone looks good. Like again, we've talked about this, wanting an insider, wanting a report. Like, are you getting a sense here? Or is week one still going to kind of be a mystery for some of these teams?
I think it's mystery until you actually go full speed. Coach Beck revealed that they didn't play 10 of their guys, so during their scrimmage and whatnot. But this is when I'm going to sound a little conceited. I know how to ask questions to these coaches that get the information I desire. And we talked about this a little bit off camera, is when a coach says, yeah, he didn't really fit our offense, most people will be like, okay, cool, and leave it at that. Well, what type of offense did you run, coach? Did you run this offense at New Mexico? Did you run this based off this? And then you break it down, and then eventually you get the answer in layman's terms, but you also get the ability to talk to the coaches and whatnot and really understand, like, okay, this is what they're thinking. Like, this guy's not a bad football player. And, a lot. He talked about it a lot. Is like a lot of his guys went on to go do good stuff in the league, like Letty Brown, Caleb Van Der Esch, Jordan Thomas, Jalen Smith, a couple offensive linemen started and whatnot. Sean Dixon, I think, played, and he was like their 9th string lineman or something like that. So when all this happened, it's just, I feel like I'm getting the information I desire.
Yeah.
And that's actually part of the reason why I clip my videos just from my questions, because I don't want to speak or take credit for other people's content, one. But I don't know if every Zoom call is like that, because when you go to a Battlehawk Zoom call, it's like, oh, how's AJ? So, like, what did AJ eat for breakfast this morning?
Yeah.
It's like, one, there's more members on this team than AJ McCarron. And I think AJ is a great guy. I think, run it down the list. Awesome dude. Great player. My number one player in this league, in my opinion. But there's 10 other men out there. What makes AJ great? What is Bruce Gadkowski going to do now with AJ in the second year of his system? I'll one-up you. They had an offensive line coach last year, Pat Burles, who didn't really play offensive line growing up. You bring in Gino Gradkowski. How is he going to help a guy like Mike Panasuk, who transitioned from defensive line to offensive line and was an all XFL offensive lineman, essentially teaching himself? And now you have a former NFL center. So those are the things I don't think get relayed enough.
Yeah, because it's hard for me, and I do the best. And, I know that, Mike is on some of these calls and Anthony's on, and I know I don't know if we need more robust or if I don't know what the answer is here, but it just feels like sometimes these Zoom calls are existing in the vacuum. And I just, I'm just trying to figure out workshop the best way for league coverage kind of here moving forward.
Yeah. And, that's what I put mine out, because I only want people to hear what I have to say. And I don't mean that in a selfish reason. Like I said, I want, it's more like a personal, like, I don't want to speak on your behalf and whatnot. And, I've been getting a little, decent engagement, nothing too crazy. And, I'm proud to do that stuff because if I can turn on 2 or 3 different people to this, it's doing the right thing. And the people who are locked in that, don't get to do those calls or, have really, I don't want to say they don't contribute anything to the league, but like in a media sense, like, they don't write articles, they don't make podcasts, they don't interview players, like nothing, they make a tweet here or there. It's like, it's like, it's cool for them to see it too. And like, okay, I can use Pat's stuff, part of my content. And, at this point, like, I really don't care about a lot of that stuff. Like, I'm focused on my work and what I do and, whether it be on the media side or other stuff. And it's like, okay, like, if that's going to help you get your content out there and like you have a bigger reach than me, like, good, because hopefully you get 2 or 3 people to show up to a game.
Last note, and then we'll do the All-Markcast. We'll get out of here. I will say we had a little bit last week talking with John Lewis about the merchandise and kind of lack of, and this has been a common story. Now we have the Michael Strahan. This was the other news. I think it was yesterday. MSX Michael Strahan, now the official off-field apparel partner of the UFL. Like, maybe we have too much merchandise now.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I bought some. I'm buying some satin jackets and we're going to make our own stuff. Like, I'm not going to sell it, like, obviously, but I'm going to take concepts. I told my girlfriend, she didn't like this. She liked this. We're just going to make our own stuff. I mean, we're not going to spend thousands of dollars, but I'm just like, I can get a shirt for $5, do this, put a logo here, do that, and it'll come out to the same. Like, there's some stuff I liked with this merch. I don't know what Michael Strahan does. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, but this to me, and I not to be again, Reed, you're always going to, but when this is like the off field, that to me is like the stuff the coaches and staff are going to wear. And you're like, okay, like, I mean, I know they're selling some of it, and John Lewis had put up, and there's some, I think shorts and some sweats or whatever that way. But like, this to me is like, hey, can we get some free merch for the people that work in the league? Like, that to me, it's like when I go to the Kraken games, I'm like, how come the in-stadium broadcast people get every single custom jersey that they've ever made ever? Like, I want that. Like, that to me is what this feels like. It's like, hey, let's get some sweet Michael Strahan stuff for the for Jay and Leah.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, I would, I can't even give you any back talk on that. I mean,
it's good. I mean, get it while you can, man. I'll take free stuff.
Their coach's gear is on
hot
point. Yeah, no, like I've been looking at it and I'm trying to make it for when I go into season. Like, I'm trying to get it for my coaching staff. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm a big 3/4 zip guy. Like stuff like that is kind of where like I'm pretty good with. Like, so they're doing it, and I mean, it's impressive to me.
Last thing here, and I'll link it. So, right. So we're not going to go, I'll publish this tomorrow. We're not going to go point by point here, but I want you to kind of talk through this All-Markcast, the philosophy behind all this. We'll talk through kind of some of the names here. Let's try to get out here at 40 minutes.
Yeah, no. So AJ McCarron, number 1, I think he's.
Well, so what is it? Because you've done this before. So what is it? Yes.
Apologies. So the All-Markcast team is, something I think I've done. This is going to be my 3rd year doing. This is my preseason All-Markcast team, as you can see, and I will do one at the end of the year, as I've once again done for the last 3 years. So pretty much this is the equivalent of, your all-league team. Reed, I think I'm going to make the investment this year. I know I've talked about it, but I want to do certificates for these guys. I think we're going to do that, you and I. Like,
okay.
I'll bankroll it. It's not going to cost that much, but like, get it on the nice paper. Half of these guys we talk to, the other half could reach out to those guys, and I think it'd be good for them because I don't think anything happened. But starting off with pretty much our all-star list, going up to the top, you got AJ McCarron, set the league record for touchdown passes. only in 9 games, more weapons on offense, a couple, returning starters, continuity in the system, full send on that. Abram Smith, fringe NFL running back. Offensive line had some losses with retirement, but because their receiving core is worse, I think Abram Smith is going to get more work, especially there's not going to be, it looks like, not too much cutesy-dootsy stuff with De'Aaron King, so it's going to be the Abram Smith, Jordan Ta'amu show. Davion Smith, same thing. The receivers of Arlington don't wow me too much. He is a little bit older, but the guy did lead the league in rushing, I think, in 2020 before Pizzagate happened. Well, Pizzagate and COVID. But, came on strong last year when Perez came through. And when you don't got great receivers, you got to move the ball down the field some way, right? Another guy, friend of my show, Clint Sig. Not many fullbacks in, football anymore. Clint's going to replace Josh Peterson, maybe as their tight end H-back. We'll see. I know we talked about him as well. But with Clint, very athletic, very versatile, and he was a great blocker. He blocked for Mark Thompson, and I think the team had like 17 total rushing touchdowns in 10 games, so maybe more. Gary Jennings Jr. was a guy who was buried under the depth chart in St. Louis, goes to Birmingham. You got a couple big pieces there, but I think because of his speed, I think he's rated as one of the fastest players in the league. Should have no problem establishing himself, especially after his time with the Carolina Panthers. Hakeem Butler, long athletic guy. Man, you see this guy next to you, you'll be mesmerized, to be honest. Only expect him to improve, especially with the additional weapons that they have there. Maybe Butler's not the all UFL wide receiver, but I'm willing to guarantee one of them will be a battle hawk.
Yeah.
Trey Quinn, that was a guy, removed from football for about a year and change, goes to Michigan. Another year, up and down QB play. Now you got EJ Perry there. And if EJ Perry's not starting and Danny Etling is, that tells you something about Danny Etling more than it does EJ Perry, because we've seen EJ Perry play well. So we could push on with that. Moving down the list, you got Jonathan Adams. The OC just raved about how much better he looks this year. Best quarterback he's played with. I love McLeod, but there was, I think there was some fatigue that we're not accounting for with McLeod.
Oh, yeah. Coming off of, yeah.
Yeah, and and those who say nay, I question your competency as a man or woman more than anything else. So that's a guy that I think will continue to succeed in the in their West Coast offense. Going to get a lot of targets, I'll tell you that much. Sal Cannella, top tier tight end over the last 2 seasons of the USFL and XFL. This is a loaded tight end league. Sage
across the board. Yeah.
And the USFL, I argue, last year had better tight ends. 7 of the 8 teams had a tight end that you could be like, yeah, that guy should be in the NFL, or could be in the NFL, would be a better word. My thing is with their receiving room not being the best, that will give Cannella to get inflated stat lines, especially with Dormandy and Latimer. You're going to see them spread it out more. So that's like Cannella, when the dust settles, he might not be the best tight end, but he will be the statistically the most aesthetic tight end, is what I thought. You go down to my offensive tackles. You got Terry Poole. PFF graded him really bad last year. What they didn't do is account for how that Pittsburgh Maulers offense took off the second he went there. And that's just that veteran savvy. Jaron Jones, another guy, 3 years running of football. This guy's been all USFL 2 years in a row. He's got a better quarterback this year, which will make him look better, regardless of if his skills decline or not. We'll see what happens there. Cole Schneider, he is a tweener to me. He plays center and guard. I kind of put him at guard for my rankings or my team because I wanted to put Mike P., who is just getting so much better from what I've been told and hasn't lost a one-on-one during camp. You also throw in Liam Fordnell at the other guard. all three of those guys are maulers up front. They're aggressive, and they all probably will have an NFL opportunity in the next year or two. I move over the defense. Gets a little weird here. I don't do the edge. I just go 4-3, which is 4 linemen, three linebackers. I keep it simple. If you call me silly, that's fine. You tell me what you want, and I'll adjust. But my ends are Breland Speaks, who had a little bit of up and downs, but really took on those double teams. And it wasn't until they got Levi Bell midseason signing where he kind of got his resurgence again. With the condensed talent, some better linebacker play from Michigan, Speaks should have a more consistent season this year, which will allow him to either replicate his stat line or possibly surpass it. Adam Rodriguez is a guy who's been one of the best pass rushers in the USFL for 2 years, hasn't gotten an opportunity, and a lot of people don't know why. I think it's his size, and sometimes it feels like his handwork isn't NFL ready. But regardless, this isn't the NFL, this is the UFL, and he's continued to succeed the last 2 seasons. A couple extra weapons up there on that defense, like Chris Odom there. He's going to be the guy that gets the one-on-ones, and if he can do it, he'll make the play. Toby Johnson, NFL veteran, IFL veteran, XFL, this FL, whatever it is, another guy who's gotten all league the last 2 years, 32 years old, but he'll be up there with Chris Odom. One of these guys is going to win, and whoever wins the most on that defensive front of the Roughnecks is going to come out on top and be an all-league player. They'll all probably be very good, but someone's going to, when that quarterback gets pushed up in the pocket, who's going to get the sack, and that's what they care about, the sacks. Austin Falalu, off an NFL stint, all XFL last year. This guy is a stout two-gap player. He is very violent with his hands. He is a strong guy, and he is going to once again, and people have, I think Mike dubbed it, and I've said it a couple times, it's the Abram Smith effect. We're going to see a lot of good plays from this dude. We're going to see a lot of physical, demanding of the double teams, and hopefully that allows a guy like Kevin Atkins, the other guy playing on that defensive line, if they're on a 4-man front, to make some plays as well. My linebackers, pretty easy here. Originally, I was going to put Chris Orr if he didn't retire, but, it's these 3 fine gentlemen, Peter Tomapeno, Frank Ginda, Cabana Tizino, all guys who have been all-league selections and whatnot. Tizino wasn't. But these are all aggressive linebackers. Ginda got better in pass coverage. They got a couple more weapons on that defensive line, and it's all going to be a symbiotic relationship as far as helping these guys get to their, high water marks on their potential, not only through skill but stats. Peter's more of a edge rusher, but he does drop back in coverage. But this man, his hands, his violent hands, his ability to dip his hips is unmatched in this league. Going to my corners, Levante Taylor is a guy that probably didn't get the amount of respect that he deserved because he gave up a lot of yards. It was a very bend but don't break with him. And he didn't give up a touchdown last year, but I think this is a guy that, if he's using the motivation in the correct way, could easily be an all-league player. He's got the skills, he's got the speed, just got to put it all together and, kind of be a little bit more confident in himself, if that makes sense, because it looks like, and maybe it was the defensive scheme they ran. I don't know. It all comes back to scheme too. We're not sure if that was the case and whatnot, but he did look, and I say soft, not from a toughness, but soft on coverage. Going down to Drayvon Askew Henry, this is a guy who's a savvy veteran, and I think being around the improvements in the front 7 will be allowed to kind of roam a little bit more as a strong safety or free safety and be allowed to make a lot more plays and kind of be in a better situation than what he was in New Jersey, where he was kind of sharing the spotlight with Shalom Luwani. Kenny Robinson, we all know his story. This is a guy who should be in the NFL. I think he's going to look like a man against boys, hopefully, for his sake, which is ironic because he was a boy when he came to this league. My specialist, I kept it pretty simple. You go Matt Coughlin. Only missed one kick last year. Luis Aguilar gets hurt. I mean, destroying. Apparently,
I want to talk about that before we get out. So round this out, and then let's do that.
Coughlin is the best remaining guy, in my opinion. I mean, I like McCrane, but everyone else is unproven. Brock Miller, I got to give props to Brock. The guy's 33 years old, still doing this. Let's go. Punters, the way I do my punters at the end of the year is I'll go off like return yards, kick coverage, and then I factor in. I give them like a +1 or a +2 for fakes. So it's not a complex formula. It's just like, okay, these are the metrics. You're within a couple points. Let's say the other guy punts it a yard longer than you. Well, did you have fakes? Yeah, you did. Okay. I'm not for this list, I'm the end all be all, but it's an effective formula, and nobody last year really lost their mind about the punter being selected.
Yeah, good. So very good. I'm going to put the full, I'll put the URL up here in the podcast description. Go check it out. Like I said, Pat does a lot of writing for the site, obviously when his work schedule allows. And so, lots of good stuff on there. Thanks for doing that. The last thing, I'm seeing like now controversy with destroying. I know that he was held and Amendola was let go from the Brahmas. That's my team. And now like people are tweeting out, okay, maybe he has 72% field goal completion to whatever. Like, what are we sensing now that there's going to be some drama coming out? Like, I think the league likes destroying being there. They already retweeted today again his YouTube video about like his journey to the NFL.
See, that bothers me, and I'm actually writing an article right now about it. Like the league needs to do more to promote these players because they can't pay them what these players should have gotten paid, and I don't think they should make millions of dollars from the league. No, I'm not saying that, but I do think they should make over $100K. And when you break it down, it's $100K in 10 to 12 weeks or 16 weeks, whatever. So, I think he's a clown. Soundbite that. I'm a little closer to this situation based on some people I know who know him, who have known him when he was Donald De La Haye. When this stuff came out about his YouTube channel, like I sympathized with him because I do think he should have got paid for his name, image, and likeness in the true way, not just here's $10 million to stay at our school. But on the flip side, where were you at in 2017? Brian Woods had the spring league. Where were you at in 2018? Brian Woods had the spring league. Where were you at in 2019? The AAF, XFL 2019, he was in the CFL. But prior, they had the AAF. You could have tried out for that. 2021.
So why do you think this is now? That's what I don't get.
I don't know, man. I think him and Marquette King are good friends, and he went to the games, and he's an arrogant kid who honestly kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Our one interaction in St. Louis, and he thinks he's someone because he's got 5 million subscribers. And I'm like, yeah, I know you talk a lot of smack in those videos, man, but I don't think anyone has ever engaged in physicality with you. And to me, man, it sums to a bigger systemic issue of just like this clout chasing and whatnot. And like, he's got a camera guy there. Why can't, I forget who just made a YouTube video of like inside camp. I think it was Madre Harper. Would Madre Harper's camera guy be allowed to be on the field? I don't think so, because Madre Harper just created a YouTube channel. He's got 200 subscribers. Would Raheem Bingham do that? Would AJ McCarron do that? Yeah, probably. So now you're picking and choosing. And this guy is going to bring eyeballs to your league, but at what cost? Because based off this thing that this kid put out, who has no agenda, by the way, and based off the conversations I've had with NFL kickers and NFL specialists, he's not the best guy to be around. But if he adds 2 million eyeballs to a Brahmas game, are we just going to be okay with that? I mean, The Rock's a showman, and I know he's not really involved.
Yeah, I don't know if that translates. Like, I know they think it does. I know they think like he's got, what did you say, 5 million YouTube. Like, I think they think, okay, that. No, I think the people that like destroying just watch his YouTube channel. Like, I don't think, you know what I mean? But I don't know if
they're on the phone. Yeah.
You know, I don't. So we'll see. To me, if you're starting to alienate people and make locker room issues, that to me is where the problem is, because I don't think these leagues are big enough or pay enough or like, you know, to put up with that stuff. So I would just keep an eye on that. But I haven't seen. I just saw that today with all that, and I know that there's already issues with Amendola getting let go.
Have their specialists not share a locker. Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. I could see Matt Amendola back in the NFL just because that's how kickers roll, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, Pat, this is good. Long, not live, but we almost went anyway, but we almost went about the same. Anyway, check out Pat's stuff on still writing for UFL News Hub for Mark, and then obviously writing on the Markcast as well. So appreciate that. The All-Markcast list, everything else today. Pat, stay safe, and thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Huge special thanks to Brittany and Andy and the Roughnecks, Showboats team, setting up interviews. Really appreciate Chris Johnson taking the time, busy during training camp coming on. Darius Victor, obviously coming on after practice and kind of all that stuff. Really appreciate both of them. Pat working remote, taking time to come on and kind of break down all the UFL shenanigans, All-Markcast team, and kind of all that stuff. Really appreciate that. Should be another big show next week here, hopefully coming out Friday. I'll keep you posted online, but big time interview, getting scheduled, coordinating calendars, and then I have another interview, like I said, Sunday. Returning guests you will not want to miss. Lots of UFL training camp, preseason previews, everything coming here before we have kickoff. 2 weeks to kick off. We'll be there. Lots of shenanigans. Should have lots of fun guests for that. So be subscribed and kind of stay tuned for all that. Should be exciting. We'll see you guys next time. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care.